Today on Ian vs. Daddybones, we're picking up where we left off with the Rise of the Snake Men with Masters of the Universe Origins, Wave 11, and I'm gonna open up Kobra Kahn and Rattlor.
Oh boy, kids, we're gonna have fun today!
Yay! Hey! Alright!
How is everyone doing tonight?
Welcome back! It's another exciting episode of Ian vs. Daddybones. I'm Ian Daddybones. Today on the show, we're going to continue on with Masters of the Universe, Wave 11, aka Snake Men Wave 1, whatever the hell you want to call it. We are officially entering the era of Rise of the Snake Men. And as you can see here on the table, my pre-orders for Wave 11 have officially arrived with the exception of one figure, and that's Snake Armor He-Man. But I officially got Boltman, Rattlor, and Kobra Kahn in my possession. I'm going to be opening up Kobra Kahn and Rattlor later on in the show. Boltman I'm going to hold on to until Snake Armor He-Man gets here. Before we get started, I want to say what's up to everybody that subscribes over on the YouTube channel, Ian vs. Daddybones. I want to give a special high five and a knuck tap to all the Patreon subscribers who subscribe for only $1 a month to get their name in the credits and get access to bonus content for 30 days. It's absolutely fucking fresh. And earlier this week, I put up an exclusive brand new episode that's only available to the Patreon subscribers. My daughter Sadie's Castle Grayskull for the Netflix 2021 He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Her Castle Grayskull showed up on Monday, which completely threw a wrench in my plans for everything that I had planned this week when it came to filming this week's episode of the show, because I told my wife, you know, when I saw that the Castle Grayskull was on sale and I wanted to get it for Sadie, my wife was like, okay, we'll get this for Sadie, but I want to make it crystal clear to you that this is for our daughter, this is for her to play with, this isn't for your collection. And I go, that's perfectly understandable. I agree with you. She should have her own Castle Grayskull. You know what I mean? This is her reboot series. This is meant for her. All of this shit on the table is meant for me. This is my throwback. This is my nostalgic moments. You know what I mean? Revisited. Childhood revisited. But I told my wife, look, she can have the Castle Grayskull just like she has all her other figures that we've been buying for her. So Sadie has like her own line of this Netflix CG animated He-Man series. She's got her toy line. So we got her the Castle Grayskull, but I told Amber, I get to make content out of it. I get to open it, I get to unbox it on the show, and what better way to make content about it than to have it be exclusively available for the people that are actually throwing cash money at Ian vs. Daddybones and helping us grow and continue to chug the fuck along down the tracks and build this fucking brand. So that's what I did. I made a bonus episode for y'all, which was originally going to be filmed on the day that I'm supposed to be doing this episode right now. So I'm a couple of days behind, but it's all good because this episode, but if you're hearing me talking right now, the episode's already mixed down, uploaded, and available to the world. But right now I'm a couple of days late this week, so I'm getting the episode done. But it's great because it gave me a couple extra days to make sure I was present and available when other packages started to arrive. So I can officially say, over the course of the past week and a half, between being responsible, paying bills, getting a whole bunch of shit accomplished in the background that basically makes everything in my life work. You know, my wife and I handled our responsibilities, paid bills. So like I said, last week I had no fucks given, just blowing my paycheck on pretty much everything I fell behind in over the past couple of months, especially when Amber and I were dealing with getting our furnace fixed around the holidays and shit. That was a pain in the ass and a bitch. I mean, not to mention looking back on the fall, basically everything that I bought and got caught up with right now is everything that I had to cancel originally that was pre-ordered back in the fall just so I can make Eternia work and make that a possibility and a reality, which it currently is a reality. We just made the Eternia payment for March last week, so I have I believe it's like 7 Eternia payments left, and that thing's completely paid off. But once I get it down to like the final $200, I'm just going to take care of it and be done with it and not have to worry about the payments anymore. Plus, I find out too, if I pay it off, instead of doing all the payments, it actually winds up being about $40 cheaper in the end, because I don't have to worry about that extra interest getting taxed on and whatnot. So either way, attorney is happening, and everything's just starting to come together, and this is how my wife and I live our life when it comes to paying our bills and, you know, growing our family and whatnot. And every year when my wife and I get taxes, ever since we became homeowners, you know, we get our taxes back every year. We throw the taxes back into the house, and we just feed the beast and feed the machine and just take care of what needs to get done in it. I feel life works a lot easier when you don't just be like, oh wow, I got this amount of money, I can go blow it on a PlayStation 5. No, stupid ass, the PlayStation 5 is gonna be there. Just make sure you're handling your responsibilities and doing your shit. Make sure your kids got food in the mouth, and you know, and you got food in the house, and your lights are on and shit, and that's it, you know. Then after taking care of all my crap that I've had to do and whatnot, I was in a position where I was finally able to acquire what I've been putting off for a few months, and I could say I'm back to being almost practically caught up and current with both Origins through Wave 11. 11 has been acquired. Masterverse, I'm completed through Wave 5. I'm getting figures for Wave 6 and 7. I'm down to like 1 figure I need per 6 and 7, and I got like 2 figures on 8. So I'm going on. There's a lot of stuff we're going to be talking about on Ian versus Daddybones, and the best part is, I'm getting Masterverse versions of figures who I previously only had available in Origins. So now I'm doing what I call completing the picture for the purpose of putting together future content and episodes, because like I have like Masterverse Manny Faces. Now I could do a Manny Faces episode. You know what I mean? I just got my Rulers of the Sun Sunman figure, which looks absolutely sick. The Masterverse Sunman figures is like one of the most like gorgeous sculpts I've seen on these figures in this line. Like, a lot of people will look at the Masters of the Universe Origins Sunman and even the 80s original Sunman figure and say it's kind of a goofy design for the action figure. The only thing I think is goofy about Sunman is his wide ass yellow collar, because it doesn't necessarily explain what it is, whether or not it's supposed to be like some sort of weird fucking cape. Is it supposed to be wings? But with the Masterverse Sunman figure, it's amazing because they make it clear that it's yellow wings that he has on his back. So he's got this amazing redesigned sculpt for his look, and it just blows the original Sunman figure out of the water. I can't wait to talk about this figure on an upcoming episode, but I gotta wait until I get Masterverse Pighead so I can pair the hero and the villain together, and for the purpose of not rehashing a previous episode, but I can somewhat streamline the story of Sunman, Rulers of the Sun, and how it pertains to not only Sunman and Pighead, but with the way everything's going on with Masterverse, I'm really interested to check out their biographies on the back of the box to see how that adds any additional information with the Masterverse line. It's going to be fucking sick. But across the board, the Ninja Turtles have showed up. Shredder, Casey Jones, Foot Soldier, Bebop. I'm going to be discussing those figures on upcoming episodes of the show. So I got plenty of content and plenty of ideas planned and episodes to pump out. I'm making a list, checking it twice, trying to rearrange specific episodes just if anything changes or something else arrives in the mail. Like originally, I was gonna plan on talking about Roboto, meaning Roboto's Origins figure, the Masterverse Roboto figure, but These guys arrived in the mail. I figured I would continue with the Snake Men. I'll wait for Roboto for another episode, which is actually really good because my Masters of the Universe Snake Men Wave 12 figures have officially started to arrive, processed, and are going to be on their way to my house shortly in a couple of days to another week. But there's a Roboto variant that's in Wave 12. It's the Mini Comics Roboto. So now I have another Roboto figure that I get to add to the Roboto and the Masterverse Roboto. So I'm just even having more Roboto to talk about. So maybe it's a good thing that I had to put that episode off. But today I'm going to be talking about Kobra Kahn and Rattlor. Now, on a previous episode of Ian versus Daddybones, I spoke about the Mattel Creations figures and the Mattel Creations drops that I've been participating in last year and even including this year, where certain Masters of the Universe figures and even other figures that Mattel produce. It doesn't necessarily have to be a He-Man brand. It could be Barbie, it could be Hot Wheels, it could be, Mattel's got the WWE license, so it could be a WWE license, which honestly, as a good example, last week, they actually had a 2-pack that Mattel Creations released that was pretty fucking sweet, because WWE, they got their WWE Superstars He-Man figure body line, they got the WWE Elite Ultimate Editions that they've been had in stores for years, but they also have a new line within the Elites called the Coliseum Collection. Now the Coliseum Collection has, I believe I mentioned this briefly before, but the Coliseum Collection figures, they have that throwback to the LJN WWF Wrestling Superstars figures in the 80s. Like, they had the packaging with the cartoon crowd and whatnot, but those figures also came with a rolled up poster. Now, the Coliseum Collection packaging doesn't mimic the packaging of the Wrestling Superstars. The Coliseum Collection mimics the poster design for their packaging, and they usually do like 2-packs of, like, you know, rivalries. Like the first Coliseum Collection was Hulk Hogan and Terry Funk, based on their Saturday Night's Main Event classic from back in the 80s. But the newest box set that they just released was Jake the Snake Roberts and Ravishing Rick Rude. So you got a Jake the Snake Roberts figure, and I believe he's got like 3 different heads and different hands, and he's got Damien, and then you got Rick Rude, and he's got like 3 different heads and shit. So, like, that was available on Mattel Creations, you know? It was like, I believe it was like $70 for the 2-pack. Because you get the 2 figures and their exclusive packaging, and then the 2 figures together had their collector's box that they both go in. So, you know, Mattel does the Mattel Creations things, and sometimes figures are available on the website directly, but other figures have that countdown timer for that rat race, you know, every man for themselves, all trying to get whatever the fuck they're currently trying to release and sell. So in my case, it's the Masters of the Universe figures that I'm all about. And basically, on that episode of Mattel Creations, my most recent acquisition was the Mattel Creations Camo Kahn figure. And for the Patreon subscribers, they got to watch me open up Camo Kahn along and show off his deluxe packaging that he came with and everything that was sick and dope about that figure. Again, you could just throw me $1 for 30 days of content. It's really not going to hurt you, and I honestly don't get access to your debit card information. That shit's all private and between you and Patreon. I just get the notification that, hey, I got another subscriber. So thank you to everyone who subscribes to me in the future. But I did the episode where I opened up Camo Kahn explained his story and what the difference between Kobra Kahn and Camo Kahn is. So that's all available up on the Patreon and shit. And you could also watch that episode on Mattel Creations over on the YouTube channel. But Kobra Kahn, I got the it's weird because, like I said, a lot of these figures were like pre-ordered back in the fall for their initial run. Now I don't know if this is a second batch of the figures or what. It's just this distribution of the line is always weird between the retailers over who gets what first. Everything gets released internationally first, then it comes to the United States, and it's just. And plus, too, when you're ordering something online, you got to take into consideration: are you buying the American packaging? Are you buying the international version of the packaging? And at this point, at first I thought collectors were being kind of anal about it with the way they were complaining about the international and U.S. versions, because I'm looking at it like, I don't care where Trapjaw came from when I was hunting Trapjaw for a fucking year. You know what I mean? I just wanted the damn figure just to put him on my shelf. As long as he had all of his accessories and shit and was in damn near mint condition, looking like he just got pulled out of the packaging, I'm good. And honestly, that's what I got. Huge shout out to Hot Comics Toys and Collectibles out in Minnesota. But it's just, it's so much fucking fun. But like I said, I pre-ordered these characters back in the fall. I had to cancel them right literally when I was getting the notification saying that they were going to be arriving soon. And that was right at the same time I was getting ready to start Ian versus Daddybones. And right around the time I started Ian versus Daddybones, that literally was in the 2-week window of the make or break moment countdown to whether or not I was going to be able to pull off getting Eternia. So when we launched the Patreon, like the fact that, hey, we got bonus content, I got something to offer you, that's the perfect way to kick off the $1 tier, because you get your name in the credits and everything that I open, if you're a previous viewer of the channel, then you know that I present everything to you in a time-lapse form, because I give the raw opening footage. I make that available for the Patreon subscribers, so it's just pretty fucking dope. And, you really get your bang for your buck on it. So, like I said, I got that episode of Mattel Creations in the Camo Kahn, and now that I got my hands on the regular Camo Kahn, I'm really excited to open him up. But also, too, on the table, like I said, Boltman I'm going to talk about once I get Snake Armor He-Man. But you bring it over to Rattlor, and it's just it's a nice little trip down memory lane. Because, like, I look at these figures, and it's like, I look at these figures, and I remember where I was to a degree when I received them. You know what I mean? I may not remember the exact moment of opening them up, but as far as that time in my life and my age, like it's weird because Kobra Kahn, I believe he came out when I was like 5 years old. Like you had the main cast when the franchise was new, when the brand was new. You had your basic characters: He-Man, Man-at-Arms, Teela, and then you had Skeletor, Beastman, Evil Lyn, and your other core base characters. But then by the time, and that's when the line debuted in 1982. So by the time you rolled into 83 and 84, they started adding new characters to Masters of the Universe. So I believe it was like 1985 or whatnot, maybe 84 when Kobra Kahn got introduced. And it was really neat because I remember seeing the commercial about the snake figure that could spray water, and I really thought that was kind of badass. But it's weird because I kind of looked at it like, oh wow, it's like always having a squirt gun if Kobra Kahn could mist water, And And I remember my mom at first like being a little apprehensive about wanting to get me Kobra Kahn because, you know, of course, if he sprays water, that means I'm gonna dump Kobra Kahn once and automatically just flood the fucking house like the Titanic. You know what I mean? And but you know, he was always a dope figure, but it was always kind of weird to me because he was Kobra Kahn, but he never really looked like a cobra because with the shape of his head and the shape of his face, you know, he, especially with the shape of his mouth for the action feature of spritzing the water, you know, he doesn't look like a cobra. He just looks like a regular snake, but he doesn't even really look that menacing or threatening. He looks like a garden snake. You know what I mean? He doesn't. If he's supposed to be a cobra, he should look like a fucking cobra. You know what I mean? And I never really liked Kobra Khan's head design. So in the 2000X Mike Young cartoon, when they introduced Kobra Kahn, you know, with that anime style look of the characters, you know, they introduced a version of Kobra Kahn that used his hood. So you saw the full hooded version of Kobra Kahn, and it's like, okay, that's my Kobra Kahn. That head on Kobra Kahn is absolutely sick, and it looks way better. And it's weird because with the way he's designed, he's got like, you know, where most Masters of the Universe figures have the armor on them and their armor can come off, he's got the paint deco of the brown going over his shoulders. So it kind of looks like Kobra Khan's wearing suspenders, even though he's not really wearing suspenders. It's just, he looks like that the brown is going into his belt, like he's wearing like a snake version of lederhosen and whatnot. And you know, he's a classic character. You know, a lot of people know him, a lot of people remember him, a lot of people are familiar with him. And honestly, based on any childhood memories I have of playing with other kids that had Masters of the Universe figures, it seems to me like everybody had Kobra Kahn. So plenty of people knew who he was, and it's really nice to see him available finally in the in the Origins form. But the only weird thing about Kobra Kahn, looking back on the character, is he came out before Masters of the Universe introduced the Snake Men, right? So he was around for like a year, 2 years before the Snake Men got introduced. Now, I remember being a kid, and when I was 7, 8 years old, that's right around the period when the Snake Men were new. I had the Horde Slime Pit, because I got that for my 7th birthday. So between the age of 7 and 8, I was playing with my Horde Slime Pit like crazy, and I remember the Snake Men coming out. And so I remember in the mini comics that came with Rattlor, Tongue Lasher, and King Hiss, you know, there was a story where Kobra Kahn was assisting Skeletor in trying to break this seal down in the dungeons of Snake Mountain, and eventually breaking the seal is what freed the Snake Men. So with the Snake Men being released, that's where they technically were about to advance the story of Masters of the Universe, even though it's like, usually today with modern fandom, if we're used to a television show but it's about to branch off into like another series and get a spin-off, you know, we kind of know in advance, like through the internet, what future plans are for projects and whatnot. So, you know, we're more aware of accepting things going forward, you know, when you have time to like mentally prep. And I mean, it can be applied to different things. It can be applied to movies, video games, you know what I mean? All sorts of shit. But like back in the day, to me as a little kid playing with my toys, it was just He-Man and versus Skeletor. You know what I mean? And then like the evil horde showed up. So now you have a new threat that isn't just an enemy of He-Man, but he's also an enemy of Skeletor too. And now you're getting this new faction, you know what I mean? So with everything I know about professional wrestling, it's just, this is a stable, this is a stable. Oh no, we got another stable invading and showing up. And then it's like, yeah, well, fuck you guys, now we're here. So it's just this big, like, clash with all the different factions and Masters of the Universe, and it's like there's like different levels of it, you know. You had He-Man, you had Masters of the Universe, Skeletor's Evil Warriors, you know, and then over like the next 2 years they like fleshed out the more good guys and bad guys like Buzz-Off, Orko, and Fisto, and Skeletor's got Spikor and Kobra Kahn and fucking Too Bad. So, you know, they're growing and branching out and shit. So it's cool with the different factions, but that's the thing. When they decided to introduce the Snake Men, I was kind of confused as a kid because it's like, well, wait a minute. Like, is Cobra Kahn affiliated with the Snake Men? Like, if they were banished thousands of years ago, then I don't expect Kobra Kahn to be that fucking old to be around when the Snake Men were originally around, especially if he's saying he's an ancestor or whatnot. So then they're like saying, oh, the Great Wars of Eternia, the Snake Men were banished by the Elders. And that's the thing. It's like little seeds being planted that was eventually going to come out for like 86 was like the Snake Men, the original release of Eternia. And that's the thing. Like, I don't really remember Eternia much as a child, other than I think I saw the television commercial and was completely confused. And I believe I don't want to say I believe. I know I saw it once available for retail while Christmas shopping on a Christmas Eve with my dad and my uncles in like 86, 87. We were in like 80s Boscov's in Binghamton, New York on Christmas Eve. And I remember being down in the toy aisle walking around with my uncles, walking past stuff, just walking through the store, and I remember seeing the Eternia box because I saw the name Eternia, I was able to read, I understood it, but then I saw this giant fucking lion head on the box, and I'm like, that looks nothing like the pink and peach buildings that I see in the cartoon show that's supposed to be the Royal Palace of Eternia. You know what I mean? So it was really confusing as a kid. I don't really remember what it was, but then when I get an adult, when I become an adult, and I hear about this shit, and I do my research and jump down the rabbit hole, you know, like 15, 20 years ago when He-Man.org was new, like I remember like just my mind exploding, like, oh my god, I don't really, I remember this, but I never got a chance to fully see it, you know what I mean? So it's like, that, you know, the Snake Men were new, Eternia was coming out, they were about to continue with a story, you know, and in the background, they were getting ready to film this live-action Masters of the Universe movie that fucking ruined everything. But at the end of the day, like, I mean, they still put out the Snake Men, and over the course of the past 20 years, like, like I said, like we all know, there's been attempts to try and reboot Masters of the Universe over the years. Mattel had New Adventures of He-Man in 1989, He-Man in Space, which is actually a canon continuation of the main timeline of events. So the New Adventures era of Masters of the Universe is supposed to happen, but that ties in to the future continuation of Masters of the Universe. Kind of like He-Man goes into space because he's in space for so long, this much time passes on He-Man, on Eternia, and then by the time He-Man comes back, He-Man finds out, hey, guess what? You have a teenage son. You're a horrible father because you went to the store for 20 years, asshole, and you never came back to get to know your son. My God, even Forrest Gump's a better dad. So it's like, you know, fucking all this shit's canon, but then with the future attempts to reboot the series and continue to tell the stories, the Snake Men were a central part of the Masters of the Universe Mike Young productions. Like the second season is gonna be all about the Snake Men, and I know this because I've been watching those episodes for years. I used to have the DVDs, the seasons on DVD, and the one DVD I got as a Christmas gift. I think my daughter got it for me one year. It was just a DVD, and it had like 10 of the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe episodes from the Mike Young series. But like, even they tried introducing the Snake Men. So like when they had Kobra Kahn, he had his hood for the first time, and I'm like, oh my god, that looks sick. Now he really looks like a fucking Cobra. But then you know, like I said, when the Snake Men came out, it was kind of confusing because you had King Hiss, Tongue Lasher, Rattlor. So it's like trying to establish the connection to how Kobra Kahn is connected to the Snake Men. It was pretty kind of vague, and but with the episode I did about Camo Kahn, it definitely, with the way they introduced it in Origins, it makes perfect sense on Camo Kahn and Kobra Kahn existing, and I just love what they did with it. So yeah, like I said, that's available for Patreon subscribers. But the original Rattlor figure, you know, he was I had to test it out. It's one thing I didn't do. I just realized I didn't do since this thing arrived, is I didn't shake him to see if he still rattles. But you know, he was a really, you know, the Snake Men figures were a lot of fun when I was a kid. Like Kobra Kahn could spray water. You know, King Hiss, when I talked about him on Ian versus Daddybones. King Hiss has his disguise, and he has his second form. His original vintage form was a little weak, but the Origins version of King Hiss made him look absolutely dope and fresh, and he's so much bigger in his snake form than his vintage figure. I really think they did it justice. But the original Rattlor had an action feature. He had a button on his back, and you hit the button on it. I believe it was on the back of his belt. But he had his neck was spring loaded, so you hit the button and his neck popped out like a rattlesnake striking, and it was absolutely friggin' sick. And I had a lot of fun with him as a child because my mom doesn't like snakes, so the fact that she willingly bought me Snake Men figures for Christmas and my birthdays and on occasions where I was doing good in school and I got a reward, you know what I mean? She bought me Snake Men figures only to tell me to don't terrorize me with your Snake Men figures, because I would always be like, Mom, and make him rattle and make his head pop out and shit. So, but unfortunately, with most of the Masters of the Universe Origins figures, for the purpose of the articulation, none of these modern figures have the OG action features, which I understand, because honestly, I'm just buying these to collect. I'm not really buying them to play with them, even though I'll take them out and I'll take my pictures and pose them for pictures and keep them on my shelf. You know what I mean? The action features don't really bother me, because if action features on an action figure have taught me anything over my life, them action features are gonna break eventually. Them shits are gonna stop working eventually. So I would rather have the modern version of the figure, knowing it doesn't do what the old one did, knowing I'm not gonna have to worry about an action feature fucking breaking that doesn't exist. But yeah, those figures look like they're definitely gonna be a lot of fun to open, and I'm gonna be doing that in a moment for the Patreon subscribers. But I do want to say I am going to open something real quick, because there's some other stuff I got here on the table. I was at Dollar General the other week. I had to grab some stuff that we needed at home, and while I was walking around Dollar General, I saw that they had these $10 small Lego builds. And basically what they are is it's a minifigure of a Marvel character, and you're building a mech suit for the minifigure to go into. And the only two that they had at Dollar General was they had an Iron Man that has the Avengers branding, and then they had a Wolverine that has the Wolverine branding. Those are the only ones I saw at Dollar General. But I was at Target the other day with my daughter Natalia, and while I was there with Natalia, I happened to notice and see that they had a Hulk mech, they had a Thanos mech, and they had a Rocket Raccoon mech. But Target wants $15 for them instead of $10. So I don't know if I may wait for them to go on sale, but then again, I really don't know how Lego sale work at retail, because I love Lego. I love everything about Lego. It's just, I don't have the budget for Lego. You know, I really wish I had the budget for Lego. I'd be buying a shit ton more Lego. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would be able to buy more Legos if I had more Patreon subscribers supporting the brand and helping me grow this motherfucker. I mean, shit. You fucking help me buy Legos, bros, and I will build whatever the hell you want me to build. You know what I really want to get when it comes to Legos? My wife is absolutely fucking terrible at keeping flowers alive. I mean, some days I gotta just, say, woo, that the kids are still alive. But the reality is, she's a much better cook than she is somebody that can keep flowers alive. So I would rather buy the Lego roses. You know what I mean? And the tulips and shit. So I would rather build my wife Lego flowers that she can keep in a vase that's also made out of Legos that she could have at work. So that way my wife always got pretty fucking flowers to look at, and she don't got to worry about them dying. I don't got to worry about her being a flower murderer, and it's all fucking well. So at some point, I'd like to take I'd like to see Ian versus Daddybones get to a level to where, I can just fucking build Legos all the time. But I am going to say, I'm going to start off with these small ones, because these ones are budget friendly. I can start off with these, and they look very interesting. And I walked through the Lego aisle with Natalia the other day, and it was fucking crazy, because she was just like looking at everything like, I honestly can't believe all this stuff exists just so you can make it out of Legos. You know what I mean? Like she was seeing like the Sesame Street house and block. You know what I mean? She was seeing the Lego Infinity Gauntlet. She was seeing like the Lego fucking Encanto house. The Lego Ghostbusters Firehouse. The Lego Nintendo Entertainment System and 80s looking TV. Like, she was just blown away by that shit. And she's like, I really wish you could get this stuff. And I'm like, I definitely really wish I could get it too. But yeah. So, while we were also at Target, I decided on the checkout, my wife loves Nightmare Before Christmas. And so do my kids. And I saw this Nightmare Before Christmas chibi snaps that they had over by the baseball cards and the trading cards and the Yu-Gi-Oh and the Pokemon and shit. Because honestly, I went over into that area because I was seriously looking to see if they had any WWE trading cards. Because I saw Johnny Moose, the owner of Excite Wrestling, recently going live on Facebook, and Moose was just opening packs of WWE cards. And I'm like, oh my god, that's absolutely amazing. And I even sent him a message saying, you know what, that was so much fun just watching you opening up those packs of cards and shit. But what I'm getting at is the one thing that makes me smile seeing Johnny Moose get so happy is when he's pulling cards out of these packs. And not only is he pulling the rookie cards of wrestlers who he used to book for Excite Wrestling, you know what I mean? So I was looking for the WWE cards, so I also could possibly have an opportunity to pull a Joe Gacy card out of a pack, which I think would be pretty fucking amazing to have, because I mean Joe Gacy has beaten me up in a wrestling ring quite a few times, and you know, I gotta say, you know, for me being Ian Daddybones in Binghamton, New York, you know, watching wrestling on TV every week like everybody else that enjoys watching wrestling, you know, the one, you know, with stuff, and you know, with me being around, involved to a degree with indie wrestling over the years, you know, I've always appreciated just seeing dudes' careers elevate, you know what I mean? Like seeing them go from like wrestling students to wrestlers that are just starting to get booked for the first time and work their like first year or two in the business, and then even seeing some dudes just elevate and like graduate like out of their hometown and surrounding areas to where they're starting to now take bookings and get noticed by other major companies and shit. And then, you know, you're seeing dudes that, you know, you used to share a locker room with now getting opportunities to work in Ring of Honor, instead of just seeing Ring of Honor guys get booked at your local hometown fed. You know what I mean? So it's really cool seeing indie guys that I know from like Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, down in Pennsylvania, you know what I mean? And it's awesome seeing these guys get opportunities where they're playing extras on Monday Night Raw or AEW. You know, they're the security guards. They're the, you know, they're backstage. They're the ones getting the opportunities on AEW Dark and Dark Elevation, and you know, it's just so fucking cool just seeing everybody level up. So, you know, and Joe Gacy's a good example. You know, I've seen Joe Gacy work for 2CW, Excite Wrestling, CZW, among other places, and then seeing Joe Gacy get signed to WWE, and now Joe Gacy's in NXT, you know what I mean? And, you know, he's got his group Schism, and, you know, you got the two guys that, you know, the two guys that are in the tag team that he's with, and it's like, they just put, you know, Simone Johnson on TV, called her up. You know, I mean, she's been in developmental, but, you know, it's one thing. It's one thing when you hear that The Rock's daughter gets a developmental deal, and then you finally see her on TV, and of all fucking things that they're doing with The Rock's daughter, they have her in Joe Gacy's group. So it's like, holy shit, that's kind of fucking awesome when you look at it, you know? I'm looking at this guy that was beloved in Excite Wrestling, you know, whether he was a heel, whether he was a babyface, you know, the Binghamton, New York fans really fell in love and acclaimed Joe Gacy as one of our own. And when Joe Gacy had his final opportunities in Excite Wrestling before he started to work for WWE, you know, everybody was so proud to see him take it to the next level and shit. So now it's to the point to where Joe Gacy has been around WWE for like just over 2 years now. You know, he's already survived rounds of cuts where other dudes have been fired over the past 2 years. So the fact that Joe Gacy still has a job there is fucking awesome. You know, and now it's getting to the point to where Joe Gacy is appearing on trading cards. And they just announced that in the new WWE 2K23 video game, Joe Gacy is going to be available as a DLC character in a video game, which I think is pretty cool, because I can say I've had my ass kicked by a guy who's DLC in a WWE video game. I mean, granted, Drew Gulak has been in WWE video games, and I got beat up by Drew Gulak too. But, you know, just, you know, looking at it, the fact that, you know, some people that beat me up in wrestling have made it to like video game levels and shit. And I just think that's fucking neat, you know, just watching different people level up. And it's not just like Joe Gacy, but there's like other dudes that are all over the place right now. Dudes, guys that I've known for years, and it's just really fucking cool. But the one thing I can say is they didn't have any WWE cards, unfortunately, but what they did have were these Nightmare Before Christmas blind balls. So I decided to grab one, and I told my daughter I would open it up on the show. So hi Natalia, I'm about to open this up, but I'm going to open this up, and then I'm going to get out of here. Now, one thing that's been brought to my attention is I get a little nervous with the ending of the show. Like I'll open the toy, and then I'll come back and I'll be like, hey, check him out, look at him, he looks fucking dope and shit. And then I just kind of fucking ramble for a few minutes until I decide to end the show. So I decided I'm going to start ending Ian versus Daddybones differently now. So I'm going to end the show when I'm about to roll in doing the openings and the unboxings, because when I say cheers Pete and bid y'all adieu, it's gonna roll right into the time lapse of me unboxing the toy, and then it's gonna roll into the credits, and then I'll see y'all next week. So if you want to see the full length version of the time lapse footage, like I said, go to the patreon.com, Ian versus Daddybones. It's only $1. Throw me $1 for 30 days of bonus content. This is episode 20. So at this point, we got 20 episodes on the YouTube channel. There's bonus content on the Patreon. There's some footage of me playing video games, and there's all sorts of shit that I'm working on in the future. Special episodes that are going to be exclusive only to the Patreon subscribers, including the build and the unboxing of my daughter Sadie's Castle Grayskull. So let's open up this blind ball and see what we got here. Oh, look at that! Look at that. She'll be happy. All right. I don't know how many. Okay. Apparently there's 9 different figures to get. There's a Santa Jack, a Jack Skellington, a Sally, a Zero, Oogie Boogie, Lock, Shock, and Barrel, and a glow-in-the-dark Oogie Boogie. And it's not that hard to tell who I got, but let's get this open. I got a Sally. And it looks like there's suction cups on it. So, lick it before you stick it. Get it soft and wet so we can kick it. There we go. She's stuck to the little ball. And, ooh. We got Barrel. Was Barrel the one that was voiced by Pee Wee Herman, or was that Locke? Yeah, there he is with his green hair and his smiley face and his creepy ass eyes. Ah. Oh, I knocked her off. He fell off too. Oh well. Or maybe they're not. Or maybe that's just the way their stands are. But yeah, got 2 Nightmare Before Christmas characters. So usually I'm against my wife buying these things for my kids, because my kids usually my kids will want one of these just for the fact of, Mom, can I get that? Mom, can I get that? Mom, can I get that? And it's like, what the fuck? No. But I don't know. I may pick up another one next time, because so far I got 2, and if I got 2 more ones I don't have, then I got half of them, and maybe I'll get lucky and I'll get that Oogie Boogie. But yeah, so we're gonna test this new format this week. I'm gonna go on, I'm gonna get out of here. Like I said, if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, head on over, Ian versus Daddybones. Click that subscribe button, click the bell notification, leave a comment, interact with the show, share the show. I would appreciate the fuck out of that. I'm trying to get my son and myself a silver YouTube plaque, so I can inspire my son to do other great things in life. But head on over to the Patreon. I've plugged that enough, but we're on Instagram. I got a Facebook like page. I'm on TikTok, Ian versus Daddybones and Pops the Dancing Bear. Ian vs Daddybones on Twitter. So, and I'm also on OnlyFans for $5. I'm not whipping my cock out or anything, so you can feel safe. You're not going to throw me money and see like naked daddy bones or anything. I got video games and other shits up there. And the $3 tier is coming real soon. WrestleMania weekend, the Original Geeks podcast is coming back. So with that said, victory and cheers, Pete!
Fuck Ian Daddybones. Fuck Twin Widow, whatever the hell it is. No one gives a shit about you, Ian. Everyone hates you. Fuck off.
Oh my god, I'm so excited. Having a banger and you're all invited. Share with friends and I'll see you later. Bring everyone, invite my haters. Throw your hands in the fucking air. Let's push a cripple down a flight of stairs. Got new shit right for your ears. My Hadouken is downright fierce. Rock out with my cock out. Jump around, I got your shout outs. I'm Daddybones, no need to panic. Talking riddles like a schizophrenic. 24/7, I got the party. Roofie roos and whoop-de-doos. Retarded fools with attitudes, bro. Everything's mixed with Bacardi. Glow stick black like tons of bubbles. Titties on bitches, nothing but trouble. Got my pills, ain't no quitter. Pop that shit, here comes my glitter. Not a dancer, I got no skills. Bobbing my head and standing still. Tons of bitches, ravers, goths. Down the fuck and get your salad tossed. It's the greatest thing that you ever saw. Put your hands in the air for a party. Oh my god, I'm so excited. Having a bang and you're all invited. Get kids posing, muscles flexing, training stressing. Favorite X-Men. If there's one thing that drives me crazy, you give high fives but you fucking hate me. Might have rabies, might have herpes. Breastfeed me and you'll have to burp me. I'll be up on stage, throwing out beads, grabbing my dick and spraying my seed all over your face. That's fucking rude. Raise it up and show your boobs. Dance around and go friggin' nuts. Just b-boy stance and light your blunts. Don't be a cunt. Tuck your chain, don't start no shit. Use your brain, it's all a game. Let's play some Yahtzee. Eat Tide Pods and punch a Nazi. Not a dancer, I got no skills. Bobbing my head and standing still. Tons of bitches, ravers, goths. Down the fuck and get your salad tossed.